Hi everyone, in this video we are going to code the header part of our website. Now before diving into the header part, there is something that I need to fix. The footer that we have right here, this doesn't actually start from the center start, but it starts from the container start. So I'm going to say container. Let's just fix that, and now let's jump into HTML. So if I go ahead and if I open up our main website, I'm just gonna very quickly open it up with live server. And now we are going to take a look at what it is actually that we want to build in the header part of our website. So in the header part, we have three main features. We have three main items or components. So the way that I'm explaining this is because I want you to be able to create these kinds of responsive websites, and the most important thing for me is to teach you how to come up with this responsive mentality and how you can create your containers, what elements should be your containers, and what elements should become your contained elements. Now, developing that mentality is more important than developing the actual website, because that mentality will allow you to create as many websites as you want. So in here, right off the bat, we can see that this header, it could be divided into three different parts. The first part is the logo. The second part is the navigation, that community pricing and features. And the third part is that sign up, sign in, or registration part. Now, there are two ways of actually going about this. The first way is that we are going to separate all these three parts into different containers. Or what we are going to do is we can separate the logo in one container, and then we are going to separate all the rest of the 5 links in another container. And you might be asking, okay, they are three different kind of elements. Why not separate them in their respective containers? The reason for that is that when we go small, when we decrease the width of the window, at some point, exactly 800, you can see that the registration buttons and the navigation, both of them go away. So it signifies that both of them, even though they're in different containers, they have one giant container. They share one big container, like this. So you can see that both, all of them are right here. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to do that. So let's go big once more. Let's dive into HTML. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of that header text. So the first part of our header is going to be the logo. Let's get rid of that equality sign. So I'm going to create a div, and I'm going to call it main-header _ logo. Now, there are different naming conventions when it comes to HTML elements. The most popular is BEM. Now, for most of developers, they do have some kind of naming system of their own. What I did was actually BEM was a little bit like tedious for me. So what I did was I just simplified it for myself, and the containers element, the containers ID or class name, is basically going to be used as the class name or ID name for the child element. If it is the direct child, then I'm going to use double underscores. If it is the child of the direct child, then I'm going to use the double hyphens. And in that manner, as many levels as I go deep, I'm just going to go alternating between double dashes and double hyphens. So you're going to see what I mean exactly by this. So within this logo, what do we have? Now, before actually creating the content, writing the content, the first thing that you need to keep in mind is that those different parts that you divided your header into, you need to first come up with that. Don't write the content. So within the logo, I know that I have to write thread, but I'm not going to write it. I'm going to hold off to that. So the next part is navigation. And we came up with the idea that we are going to put both of the links and the registration part within one container, and we are going to call that container nav. This is a semantic container, so I'm going to say main-header. So this nav is a direct child, therefore double underscores at first. If it is the grandchild of this direct child, it is going to grab double underscores again. So it's going to go alternating between double underscores and then double hyphens. So I'm going to call this nav. Now keep in mind, I'm not writing anything within these. First, I need to come up with the blueprint of the HTML elements that I want to actually create and design. Now we are done with this, but there is actually one more thing remaining. Now we have actually come up with how we can, with the containers for these elements, but what about this hamburger that we have right here? So you can't see that unless we get to like 800 or below that. So we need to provide that with HTML as well. So I'm going to say hamburger menu. There we go. So it's going to be a div. It's going to have a class of hamburger. I'm just going to call it hamburger. Now I'm not going to provide anything. So that's it so far, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause the lecture right here, and we're going to pick up in our next lecture.